as ambassadors, Chief Foreign Officer 3, Alexander Davis.
If you are able, we invite you to please stand for the presentation of our colors and the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gloom, whose broad streets and bright stars through the perilous fight were the ramparts we watched, were so gilded to swoon. Their riders with them the first
Please be seated. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chief Warrant Officer 3 Alexander Davis, and on behalf of the members of the Jazz Ambassadors, we want to welcome to tonight's concert. So the Jazz Ambassadors, we are the premier touring jazz orchestra of the United States Army, and today, if you can believe it, marks day 23 of a 25-day tour. So let me tell you, back in April 2nd, we started, went up to Washington, D.C., went up to Dover. The weather is terrible, so we kept going north to New Jersey. The weather was still terrible. Then we went to Pennsylvania, cold and terrible. Especially there's a trend going on here, right? I went to New York. Wasn't that bad. And then we had to go back to Pennsylvania. Terrible. New Jersey, terrible. So made a phone call, heard the weather was nice in New York, so now we're back. Hey, so we opened tonight's concert with a piece written by Greg Hopkins. It was written for the Buddy Rich Big Band, and that was entitled Nutville, and it featured on drums from Scotland, Arizona. That's sort of first-class wrestling music. On trumpet from Medina, Minnesota, that's sort of Preston Hayden. And on tenor saxophone from Austin, Texas, that's sort of first-class Paul White. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you all are in store for a treat. We hope you all have fun because we're definitely going to have fun. We're going to have fun tonight? Yeah! All right, let's see. So next we have to do a piece by the greatest composer of all time. Let's be doing so, Duke Ellington. Let's hear it from the Duke, yeah. Please enjoy Old King Ducey. Thank you so much. I have people on trumpet from the military of North Carolina. That's Staff Sergeant Eric Williams. Up next, we'd like to introduce our featured soloist for this evening. He's been a member of the Jazz Ambassadors for about 2 years. He hails from Monty, New Jersey, and holds degrees from Rutgers University. Will you please help me welcome on trombones, Staff Sergeant Dave Monster. Yes, we're so fortunate, we're so excited to introduce to you all the newest member of the Jazz Ambassadors. This is her first tour, and she's only been with the group not even 6 months. You heard her on the national anthem. Will you please help me welcome from Dowagiac, Michigan, Staff Sergeant Emily Perkins.
If it takes all I think you all already know this, but you are a great audience. Thank you so much for such a warm welcome. Before I agreed to put on this uniform and move to Washington, D.C., I had the pleasure of actually living in New York State for about 4.5 years, both in the Hudson Valley and in the city. A really formative time in my life. I absolutely love New York, so every chance I get to come back is very special for me. And especially during that time, I was actually serving in the New York Army National Guard. So I got to see a lot of the state and serve the people of the state. And every place we went, no matter how different the people were, they were all, one, very proud to be New Yorkers, and two, very proud of their veterans. So as a former New York veteran, in a way, thank you very much. And then again, thank you for coming out tonight and welcoming all of us here. So thank you. So while the band's taking a little break, we're going to sing a real nice old standard written in the 1930s. Most recordings have that real kind of golden era sound, but we're going to put a little bit of a different spin on it. This is You Go to My Head. You go to my head and you linger You intoxicate my soul with lies. Now I'm certain that this is not enough. As the ghost of a crazy romance, you will go to my This next tune was originally, it's adapted from a French song, French text. For everybody's sake, I'm not singing in French tonight. These guys get it. They don't want to hear it. I don't want to do it, so. But it's a really fun arrangement of Watch What Happens. Start believing in you. Let her hold out her hand. Let her find you and watch what happens when someone who can look in your eyes and see into your heart. Let her touch you and watch what let someone give her heart. Someone who cares like me. Oh, let someone give her heart. Someone who cares
I promise you we'll bring it back later. I promise we will. I want to take a moment to talk little bit more about the mission of the Jazz Ambassadors. As I said in my introduction, the Jazz Ambassadors, we are the official premier touring jazz orchestra of the United States Army. It is our mission, it is our pleasure to connect the American people to their Army. And we like to do that by traveling about 100 days out of the year and putting on concerts like the one you see before you. In honor of our soldiers and our veterans, both home and abroad. The soldiers behind me represent the men and women, the less than 1% who are even qualified to put on this uniform, to stand in defense of our freedom. And we hope by tonight's concert that these soldiers behind me that represents your Army have done a good job representing those soldiers.
Thank you.
I don't know if you can't tell, but we love connecting with you all. We're having a great time. And we look forward to visiting with you all after the concert. But in addition to that, we invite you to connect with us in the virtual space. Please, we invite you to follow us on social media at Army Field Band. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, X, and whatever the next social media platform that's about to come out. We're probably on there already, so please find us on social media there. You'll see a list of events, you'll see cool video projects and what we're up to. And we enjoy to visit with you and connect with you all in the virtual space. Now, we also welcome you and invite you to connect with us and hear your comments about our program. If you look at your program, you can see email address, US Army Field Band at army@mil.mil. Or you can, if you're old school like me, you can write a letter and put it in the mail. And we're interested in those comments, and we read each one of those comments. And I'm just not saying that because my boss is sitting back there, but we are interested to see and hear your comments. Tell them what you liked about tonight's concert, tell them what you want to see more of, and tell them that you want the Jazz Ambassadors to come out to Port Washington, right? Now, additionally, no concert wouldn't be possible without the many people and the support that happens behind the scenes. So we would like to take a moment to thank a few people. Now, how about a hand for our color guard from Port Washington Fire Department? Won't they also? And the wonderful staff at Landmark on Main Street and the Gene Grimsby Theater. Now, making sure that I sound good, make sure that the band sound good, doing a great job back there on the soundboard. That's our first class rookie for. How about a hand for him? And we do travel hundreds of a year, that's thousands and thousands of miles. So making sure that we get to where we need to go safely is our wonderful transportation team. That's Mr. Nate Lively and Mr. Dave Jella. How about a hand for him? Well, I think that's enough housekeeping. Y'all ready for some more music? Yeah! All right, so next I ask this next person to introduce this next song, simply because he does a better job than me, and he's the only one in the band old enough who was around when the band originally played. So please help me welcome the non-commissioned officer in charge of the Jazz Ambassadors, Sergeant Major Andrew Levy.
I prefer elder statesman versus older. No, there's a really cool story with this next chart, and Chief was kind enough to let me tell that story to each of the audiences that we perform this next one for. If you look at your program, the title of this next tune, it may look kind of like gibberish to you, and that's kind of what it is. Back in 2003, the former Chief Arranger of the United States Army Field Band, former member of the Jazz Ambassadors, Master Sergeant retired Vince Norman, had his first child. And his first child's name was Ray, and if you look at the co-composers of this next tune, it's Vince Norman and Raymond Norman. Well, when Ray was about 2 years old, he would crawl around in Vince's house and find his way to Vinny's piano, and he would play this 8-note phrase over and over again, like 8 notes that really just had no idea, like they didn't connect to each other in any musical sense, just for some reason he kept picking the same 8 notes over and over again, and saying the words, Ajuba, Ajuba, like a 2-year-old would make some kind of gibberish, weird sounds. And so Vinny's crazy musical mind, he took those 8 notes and basically created what he termed his first co-composition with his son, Raymond, and created this pretty cool arrangement that we really hope that you guys are going to enjoy when you hear. it sort of gives us an opportunity to let a couple members of the band stretch out a little bit on a solo. So whenever you see somebody stand up here and play a solo tonight, all of it is improvised on the spot. These aren't written down solos. These are musicians up here who are spontaneously creating music on the spot. And so this is our opportunity to let a couple players in the band stretch out a little bit and show you how they can spontaneously create music in the moment. And there's a lot of things that can go into that, and one of those things is audience participation. So if you hear something that you like from a particular soloist while they're playing, let us know about it. Like scream, yell, have a good time, clap, whatever it is. You don't have to wait till the end of the solo. We have all these rules, these fancy army band concerts where we get all dressed up. There's no rules tonight. So if you hear something that you like, please let us know. Inspire our soloists, and really, please enjoy this next chart. This is Vince and Reagan Norman's Ajuba.
That picture got tennis saxophone from Princeton, Rhode Island, that's Master Sergeant Brad Daniel. Now, this song from Greenville, Tennessee, that's Sergeant First Class Promotable, Jonathan Matthews. Next, we have to do a t-shirt by Rich DeRosa for the Mel Lewis Jazz Orchestra. It's here for Rich, yeah, okay. He wrote this for the Mel Lewis Jazz Orchestra, was featured on their 20 years at the Village Vanguard. Was ready for their lead alto, Dick Oates. Tonight, we'd like to feature our lead alto, Sergeant Major Andrew Layton, on Rich DeRosa's Alone Together.